Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. I am Richard. I hope that you are ready to get down underground and get dirty, digging tunnels and making mountains out of molehills. That's right, I'm gonna show you this game. This is a funny kind of strategic game where you try to plan how to make the biggest molehills that you possibly can. This is a 2 to 4 player game. It's around 45 to 60 minutes of gameplay and from 9 years and above. I'm going to show you the setup of the game, I'm going to show you an overview of the game and go through the rules. So let's take a look at it. This is the setup of the game. Looking quite cool, right? Let's just admit it. We all love when it builds up from the table. It's just so cool. You actually take the bottom part of the box itself to build up this cool little tower here. In the bottom here, you have the bottom end of the board representing the underground. In the top, you have the top board of the game representing, well, the top of the soil. Just be aware, because on the other side, there's a different size on it. Depending on if you're playing 2 player, 3 player, or 4 players, you need to have the different size up. And also the grid on this board needs to be the same placements as the one beneath, so you know where to put your little molehills later on. You then take 5 cards and put them face up in rows, depending on how many players you are. You should have 1 row with 5 cards facing up per player. This is a 3-player game, so we have 1, 2, 3 rows of 5 cards. Kind of makes sense, right? Then we have this little stone. We need to place that next to the cards. I'm gonna tell you more about that later. Also, this little die. Each player gets their little mole piles that will later be placed on top of the board. And then we, of course, need to pick our little mole that will represent us during this game. Once we have done this, we're pretty much ready to go. Before we start to play, we need to hand out these tokens randomly to each player. Mix them up real good and then hand them out. Whoever gets the token with number 1 will be the first player. Whoever gets number 2 will be the second player, and so on. So we're done with the setup. We have established who will be the first player, which is me, of course. So we're ready to actually start playing the game. But what is this game about? Well, it's about you portraying as a little mole, working its way underground to create molehills on top of the board. Meaning that when your mole moves down here, small molehills will start to build up in the same pattern on top of the board. You will score for every mole you own on top of the board at the end of the round. And to own one of these molehills, you need to have the first molehill in the bottom of the pile. Meaning that if the gray player steals this mole pile, they will now hold this and get 1 score. And the yellow player won't get anything more on this molehill until they eventually dig under it again and take it back. Now they will get 1, 2, 3, 4 points for this one instead, and the gray player won't get anything anymore. You can steal each other's molehills, you can bump into each other, change each other's paths, and it's a really strategic game actually. But how do you move your little moles around? Well, we use these movement cards, because each player picks up 4 of these cards, and then the players need to plan out how they want their moles to move. Because we're going to pull 1 card and then we're going to make the movement. Then the next player going to take their card, make their movement, and so on. So you might have a plan at the start of the game, but it's probably going to mess up on the way. The first part of this game is the card drafting phase. Starting with the first player, players get to draft 1 card from the card area. Then the second player takes their turn, and the third player takes their turn. Then it goes back to the first player again, and they get to pick their second cards. This is the way this phase goes on until each player have 4 cards on their hand. When we draw the cards, we do not refill them with new ones. The cards that are gone for this round. When the players are done drafting their cards, they should have 4 cards in their hand. And now it's time to secretly plan out what kind of route we want our little mole to take. We do that by simply placing the cards in front of us in a stack face down. Now remember, the first card that you place face down on your table will be your last move, and the top one will be your first move. And we of course place them face down so the other players can't see what we're planning to do. Once each players are done planning their movements, it's time for the first player to reveal their top card. I have a move forward +2, meaning that my little mole will move 2 steps forward in the direction that their cute little nose is pointing. 1, 2. Now, when I have done my movements, I also need to place molehills on top of the board in the same pattern that I have just moved. Meaning that I moved 1, 2 steps down here, so now I should put my little molehills on top of the steps that I have just moved. I moved through 5 and 4, so I should put 1 on 5 and 4 on the top. But if another mole moves into the same area that I have a molehill up here in the future, they will steal this pile. Meaning that they will take their little molehill and put it underneath my molehill. Remember, it goes from the bottom to the top, so they push my molehill up. Now, this mole owns this hill instead of me. Once I have completed my movements and I'm done with my turn, it goes over to the second player and they reveal their cards and make their moves, and then they place out their little molehills. And this is the way this round goes around until all players are done with their movements. But what kind of movements can you make, Richard? Well, I'm gonna show you that. Here we have straight path. So down here you can make 1 move straight. On this one here you can make 2 moves straight. And here you can make 3 moves in a straight line. This one here will let you turn right or left. This one here will let you make a U-turn. But this one up here will let you move 1 step and then make a U-turn. This one up here will let you move 1 step forward and then turn left. And this one down here will make you move 1 step forward and then turn right. And which way your mole is gonna move all depends on which way their cute little nose is pointing. So if I, for example, get this one, move 1 and then turn left, that means that I should make 1 move forward and then turn their little nose to the left. Now the next card I take will indicate again how they will move. So this one will let me move either left or right. Meaning again that if I want to turn to the right, I should turn my little mole's nose to the right. It's pretty simple. Besides the movement cards, we also have the stone cards and the molehill cards. These 2 cards kind of give the mole a little special ability. If we start with the stone card here, for example, this card will let the player take up the little stone token and place it out on an empty spot on the board. Then they get to roll this die and take that die and put it on top of the stone. Now, when another mole moves into this stone, they now have to make the move on the die instead, completely messing up their turn. If, for example, this mole has a move forward card and this mole is blocking their path, well, they just stay where they are because they are polite animals. They don't push you away, they simply wait for their turn. So if a mole is blocking your direction where you should have moved, well, you just have to wait the next turn. Moles cannot move beyond the edges of the board. So if in this situation here you would get a card telling you to move forward, well, you simply have to ignore that card. The molehill card, well, this one is a lot of fun, because this one will not make your mole move, it will instead be considered to have peeked up above ground. Bop! Forcing whatever molehill is above it to topple down. Meaning that now we should spread this entire molehill tower in the line which it has toppled down on, starting with the one at the bottom. Taking it off and putting it on the first molehill after the row it has fallen down on. And then we keep on going with the next, and the next, and the next. Any molehill that falls beyond the board is gone. Once we're done with the movement phase and we have no more cards left to move around with, we move into the scoring phase. This is where the little moles look above ground level to see what hill they own. And to own a hill, you need to have the bottom color. Meaning that here, the yellow player would score 1 point. But over here, the gray player would score 1 and 2 points. And that's the way it builds up. So if you have the bottom one, you will get a score for every color you have on that row. Once we have calculated the scores, we write it down on this neat little score sheet here. And now we move into the next round. And it's important that we do not remove any molehills from the board, because they should stay here, stacking up even more during the coming rounds. When we move into a new round, we place out the molehill cards again on the table in the piles just like we did before. Each player takes up their cards and a new round will start. And this is the way the game goes on until you have played 6 different rounds and filled out this sheet completely. The one with the highest scores is the winner. There you have it, people. That was Mountains of Molehills for you. This is a funny game for the whole family. It's really easy to learn. The rules are not complicated at all. And it says 9 years on the box. But I played this with my son and daughter, and they're 4 and 8 years old. And as long as you just help the little ones out here with the planning phase, they get straight into it. I mean, it's really not that hard. They move the little moles around, the mountains grow up, and they're having a blast. And especially when it comes to topple down the little molehills here and they fall above each other, it's just a lot of laughs. And even though you have a planning phase, you really do not know what's gonna happen in this game, because something is probably going to mess up your strategy. This is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of cool movements in this one. If you like funny, fast, easy family games, you should check this one out for sure. Also, the whole setup here where you build up the top levels above each other, it's just a lot of fun, and it looks really cool on the table. There will be links down in the description where you can find this game, and also to OP Games who have made this game, and it just looks so pretty. So check it out, people, if you like family games. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up, throw in a comment there to me. I love to interact with you. I really get a lot from that. I love this community. You're so beautiful, and all the love I get, I really appreciate it. If you like this channel, people, please subscribe to it. It gives me a smile on my lips every time I get a new subscriber. And until next week, people, please keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. If you see a brother or a sister out there that needs help with the rules, well, help them out. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask. Until next time, people, please take care and peace out.